Hi, good evening. Thanks a lot for showing up today. Uh, Although Financial Freedom Day was on July 1, we deliberately decided we will do it today because it's a Saturday and it will be convenient for everyone. So I'm happy that so many of you have been able to join in today. So let's dive in without wasting any more time. So as you can see from the title, I've divided this presentation into three sections: the aspiration for financial freedom, the action that is needed, and the path to achievement. So this aspiration for financial freedom was not something that I figured on my own. We did a survey here at Milestones2Wealth. We put out a survey with 6 questions on, beginning with what does financial freedom mean to you, and so on and so forth. And we got answers from about 379 people across age groups, across salaried and self-employed and retired categories. And you get to know the aspirations and what struggles people undergo to finally achieve what they want to. So that way the aspirations are all reflected here in what we are going to show very soon. So let's move on. Now, this is, as I said, 379 people. And if you see, this is a typical mix. If you see the gender and the work profile in most surveys that I have done in the past for similar purposes, you would have a larger section of the male population and a small, unfortunately, a very small representation from women, but nevertheless a good representation in double digits. And work profile predominantly salaried. And the age group is a typical 20 to 30, 30 to 40 and 40 to 50. 30 to 40 and 40 to 50 is the peak age group which has responded to this survey. So this gives you a cross section of the kind of group from which the responses were sought. And yeah, we'll move on. Yeah. So the first question was, what does financial freedom mean to you? And your answers are right up on the screen. People were given the choice people could choose multiple answers. So we didn't restrict them to one because it doesn't serve any purpose. People might have a lot of dreams. So when looking at this response, I would have thought, even before I got the responses, that being able to retire early was something which a lot of people must have aspired for, and probably that would have won the day. But when I see these responses, being debt free has trumped being able to retire early. So to a lot more people, at least the 220 respondents, 58% of the population think being debt free is financial independence. And probably I was just thinking about it, and I was the easy availability of loans, the expansion of needs, and a lot more dreams, a lot of income gaps. So this is what has led to the situation where people got into a lot more debt than they could probably afford. So being debt free is the biggest aspiration to this group, followed by being able to retire early, of course, which who wants to do 9 to 5 till the end of their lives. So people want to do what they like. And the other ability to spend on what they wish to, pursuing a career path that is unconventional, all those things follow. But debt-free trumps everybody. That was a surprise finding of this survey. And let us slice and dice it further in terms of observations from what we can see inside the survey. So, the ability to spend on whatever they wish to is a lot more in the 20 to 30 and the greater than 60 age group. So, of course, the retirees would know that they want to spend on whatever they wish to after having worked so hard and lived their lives. But 20 to 30 age group thinks financial freedom is also the ability to spend. It emanates from what I said earlier, that, they are on an expansionist lifestyle mode even as they begin their careers. So that is the first observation from this. And the second one is that, see, as you enter your 30s and 40s, people's wishes and dreams start multiplying. So over 80% in their 30s and 40s want to travel. Half of those in their 30s want their dream home come true. That's the peak. I think the 30s and 40s is your peak working life. So, people want to, do multiple things, which requires a lot of money and a lot more spending to be done. And 64% of those who want to break away from traditional careers are in their 20s and 30s. Think startup, think doing things which parents haven't done. And that is again that age group. So they want to break away from traditional careers, and they have lots of dreams in terms of travel and home and ability to spend on whatever they wish. So that is the slicing and dicing of observations for the first question that we asked. The second question that we asked was, what are you doing towards, you have these dreams, yes, what are you doing towards achieving this freedom? And I don't know whether the answer came out because it was done by an organization which typically tells you how to go about doing your investments. So I'm investing in stocks, mutual funds, and golds. Got the highest response. 326 of 379 people said, yeah, I know that, to beat inflation and to get good returns, I should invest in the markets. And so that has been the response. But unfortunately, if you see, a very important thing, or point number two, I'm increasing savings as my earnings go up. And the last point, I'm living within my means. The percentages probably there could have been much higher, because that equally contributes to having more in your hands to invest. But unfortunately, those percentages seem a little, humbling today. So this is slicing and dicing this response. This is very shocking and surprising in the age of so much, people do get misinformation, but nevertheless, in the age of so much social media, access to social media and access to a lot more things, only 69%, when people did choose investing in stocks and mutual funds as their top priority, only 69% in the 20 to 30 age bracket invest in stocks and mutual funds, compared to over 90% in their 30s and 50s. And this is very surprising, because they want the ability to spend on whatever they wish to later on in their life, but only 69% start early. And this has its consequences. So as I said, increasing savings as earnings go up, savings as earnings go up, only 54% in the 20 to 30 age group are again doing it. Whereas, 67% people, I think, the typical mentality of this 20 to 30 to not really worry about the future until they hit 30 and family starts expanding, and then they figure out that something has to be done. So it's very typical of what we see, and living within one's means. So if you see, seniors are the people who live within their means, whereas young adults are also trying to live within their means, but seniors actually are the highest percentage here, which is again very intuitive. So the third question that we asked them, what is your biggest financial worry? And I told you, so the highest response here is, I did not start saving early enough. So the people in their 20s who have lofty dreams and who are spending a lot, and who are not investing as much in stocks and mutual funds, when they come to their 30s, they find that they did not start saving early enough. So, that seems to be the biggest financial worry. And followed by, I am unsure of how much savings is going to be enough for retirement. So that is a big question, isn't it? All of us have that worry. We are unable to calculate, and we don't know how much is enough, because we have to project a lot into the future. And I will, in the later part of my presentation, I will tell you a little bit of things to do on how you can calculate. But nevertheless, so I did not start saving early enough seems to be the biggest financial worry. Moving on to the observations of slicing and dicing. So now, so people want to move away from traditional careers. We did see that in the earlier part of the presentation. People in their 20s, people in their 30s want to move away from traditional careers, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 9 salaried jobs. But now that if they are doing it, so what's happening? Nearly half, or 26 out of 55 of those in the 20 to 30 age group share the worry on whether their income will grow in sync with the market or inflation. This is because, you're not getting into the traditional industries or the traditional jobs. And as I said, 30 to 50 is worrying about, stressing about a late start. And again, the 30 to 40 is some place where reality hits, and that, you need money for retirement. You can't carry on like this forever. If you burn out at 50 or 55 and you're thinking of early retirement, what are you going to do? And this is a very intriguing thing on women. Now, women are more than men. So I've given the comparison percentages in the brackets, more than men. Women seem to be fearing medical emergencies or availability of savings for medical emergencies, or maybe inadequacy of insurance for medical emergencies a lot more, and also worrying about not being able to reach major family or life cycle milestones like, child's education, building a house, or whatever they have in their minds. Women seem to be worrying a lot more on these than men. And maybe that has its reason. So as I said earlier, on things like retirement or women, I do have a lot more things to share as we move on with the presentation. But this is the observation from this question. The next question that we asked the audience, I mean, the survey, the respondents, was, what do you see as the key obstacles on the path to financial freedom? Now, the key obstacle here, 47.5% of them have said, I am not able to earn or save as much as I would like to. So non-traditional careers, spending a lot more, having a lot of dreams, wanting to spend on travel, buy homes, and so on and so forth, has led to this situation where I am not able to earn or save as much as I would like to. So, the second, the winner here, the following, I don't have the time to plan and review my investments and take corrective action if necessary, follows that. So this is also a very important concern across the respondents. So slicing and dicing the observations on this. So exclusively 65%, or of the 180 who said that they can't earn or save as much as they would like to, 65% have said this is the only option which is, concerning me. So, that shows, again, as I said earlier, like, their lifestyle choices. And typically, it's a very intuitive thing. 30 to 50 is the age group where this specific obstacle heavily impacts them. And most of them are salaried employees. And 18 people have chosen both, I am not able to earn or save as much as I would like to, and as well as I have big outstanding loans. So, this not being able to save as much as they would like also has to do with the fact that, the EMIs are probably occupying a bigger proportion of their monthly outflows than it should. And they are also not able to earn, which is why they probably, are tending to take more loans. And a little over half the respondents, like 52%, who have big outstanding loans, it's again very intuitive, are 30 to 40 years old. We asked the next question. I think this is the fifth question. How do you plan to overcome the obstacles? Now, most people have said, by improving my knowledge of financial products or taking professional advice on money management. So we did do a cohort where, it consisted of a lot of the general public, consisted a cohort of, leads that we have, a cohort of clients that we have across age groups and all that. But across the board, the response seems to be, yes, I do have these dreams. I do have all these commitments, but I do want to improve my knowledge of financial products or take professional advice. That seems to be, people think that that is the way out for them to get out of the obstacles. And of the observations from here, if you see, 1 in every 2 people who had ticked this option chose this as their only response. So this is like, so widespread, which you will see from the next point, actually. So out of the 291 who said, I want to improve my knowledge, 77% of them are in 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 to 50, showing that the need is widespread. It is not that people, surprisingly, in 40 to 50 are saying, yes, I've been investing for so long. I have, reasonable knowledge, enough knowledge to not make mistakes, to not make errors. I still need to understand a lot more. So that is what the messaging seems to be. So across age groups, this seems to be a concern. And of the 52 people who have big outstanding loans, 40 of them want to prepay wherever possible. So if you see the option on biggest financial worry, 52 people who have chosen big outstanding loans, and when they say, how do you plan to overcome, they're saying 40 of them are saying we want to prepay. So which again shows that, not being able to improve your salaries and not being able to control your lifestyle. So probably has led to more loans than needed. And you think the way out is probably prepaying the loans and closing it, and being debt free has been the topmost priority if you see from the survey. So it all adds up ultimately. And we'll move on. Yeah. So this was the last question that we asked. What is your financial freedom number? We hear 1 crore, we hear 5 crores, we hear 10, 15, 20, 2500. But the response, has been very realistic. It is not that people have said, I want to do, most people have not said, I want to do 25 to 50 or over 50. But the response has actually been very, very, very realistic, where a lot of people fall in the 1 to 5 crore and the 5 to 10 crore bracket. And probably an equal number to the 1 to 5 crore is the 10 to 25 crore bracket. Now, what is interesting here? Yes, so this looks very realistic to you, but when you go and slice and dice, again, this answer, 43.6% of the younger professionals target 25 crore or higher. So they want the ability to spend on whatever they wish to. They don't want traditional carriers, but they want a retirement corpus or a fire corpus probably of 25 crore or higher. And the most popular target range for women is not 1 to 5 crore. Women seem to be very ambitious, and from the survey, and 5 to 10 crores. But interestingly, the second most chosen category is the highest bracket, 50. Although the women cohort is a smaller cohort when compared to the men, 11 women have chosen 50 crore plus. So it shows that, whatever we see in society today is reflected in the survey. Women are ambitious. They do want to have good careers. So there is no second thoughts on that. So that is an important finding from this survey. And the next one, the target for men, very realistic, 5 to 10 crore, and closely followed by 1 to 5 crore. And then a lot more, say 10 to 25 crore. So men, lower to middle ranges and very, very realistic targets. So that was the slicing and dicing of the last question that we asked. So let us, for the action part, so we have seen what the youngsters want, what the women want, and what the people in the middle ages are struggling with. So I'm just putting this all together here. So what have we understood from this survey about youngsters? As I kept saying through the last 15-20 minutes, youngsters in the 20 to 30 age group want to break away from traditional careers. They are worried whether income will grow in sync with inflation, because probably they are not in industries, regular routine industries and routine salaried jobs, are investing less in stock and mutual funds. Only 69%, according to the survey, were investing here vis-a-vis in this age group, vis-a-vis over 90% in the 30 to 40 and 40 to 50 age group. We saw that earlier. And youngsters are not increasing savings as earnings go up. They have lofty financial freedom targets. And most of them wanted 25 crore plus. And they also consider financial freedom as the ability to spend on whatever they wished to. So you can see probably in your families, if you have people in this age cohort, I think you can very well relate to the findings of this survey. So when I was really sitting and going through the numbers and trying to make sense of the whole thing, at the end of it, when it all came in place, it all came in place so well that I knew that, whatever I have been seeing, I can see it reflected in the survey. So that way we can never say that we made up the numbers. It is what society is today. So now youngsters have all this, and it's so conflicting, and it is, you don't have proper money, but you're investing less also. You're not increasing your savings also, but you want, you have lofty targets, and you want to be able to spend on whatever you wish to. So for youngsters, it is extremely, extremely simple what the survey says. So we did put out a few posters for financial freedom. I thought I will really, bring it back into this presentation. If you missed it in our Milestones2Wealth channels on social media, the posters are here, back here for you. So this is what the youngsters actually need to do. So when we started celebrating Financial Freedom Day over a week, so on day one, we put out a poster saying, know where your money goes. It's extremely simple, but every little thing adds up. And this is what youngsters should know. when the salary comes in, a lot of people, the younger generation, they actually don't know where it goes out. It just flows out of their, bank account in no time. So tracking where your money actually goes, a very simple exercise, and there are a lot of apps today to do it. So if there are youngsters in the 20 to 30 age group with similar profiles that the survey has revealed, then the first step, to financial freedom is a very simple step, that you have to know where your money goes. That is extremely important. So track every rupee. That's what we have said here, every month. And write down your income, EMIs, fixed expenses, and daily spends. You will be shocked by what you find, because you might be thinking you're spending a lot more on a particular thing, but it wouldn't be the case. It would probably going to Amazon or Zomato, where all the platform charges and your delivery charges are all sucking up my pennies every day. So that is the first poster that we put out. The next poster that we put out equally applies to the youngsters. It says, plug one money leak at a time. So I did talk about Zomato and Swiggy orders, then the OTT subscriptions that you have. You have multiple gadget subscriptions. You subscribe for a gym, for quad or whatever, and you don't really use that subscription. So plug one money leak. So know where your money goes and plug one money leak. It will help you a lot more towards starting investments early, which is one weak point for youngsters, which we saw in the survey. So this is an important, very simple, the people in their 40s or 30s who are attending this webinar, you would know, I am sure that, had you known that you should do this when you were young, probably you could have saved better. So I do have that feeling, although I did start out my career in investments and personal finance and writing on it as a journalist. But when I started out in my early 20s, I never did it until slightly later. So small leaks sink big ships is what we have there on that poster. So the other two, again, posters which we put out on the following days when we celebrated Financial Freedom Day across social media, was pay yourself first. So starting your investments early is nothing but paying yourself first. So how do you pay yourself first? SIP is the most simple thing which anybody would say. Don't wait for the right time or a bigger salary, and importantly, increase your savings as your salary grows. So this is an automated thing, very easy thing, which youngsters should start on. And saving without any goal is nothing. It is just just a balance lying in your mutual fund account or in your investment account. So you need to tie everything to a plan, because everybody has plans. Everybody has a financial freedom number. There are people who want to travel. There are people who want to live in a dream home, in a dream location. Then there are people who want to be debt free. People want to retire early. And so what is your goal? So there are multiple goals across your working life. So this poster tells you that not starting a SIP of 2000 in your first month's salary is very good, but over time you should be able to direct that towards a goal, and then it will help you to not touch it, essentially. So financial freedom isn't an event. It is a life you build one milestone at a time, which is absolutely true. And, you have to have milestones across, say, I want to reach this for my child's education. I want to reach this for my home or for my retirement. So for the youngsters out there, I thought these 4 posters, you could still go back and, check in our social media handles. But these 4 posters, if you can keep it handy, more than enough to put you on the path to financial freedom and fulfill all your aspirations. So that the next cohort that we saw was the middle ages, the most, the tough period that, I have also been, at least I'm in the middle or probably slightly towards the end of this. So, and I know how difficult it is every month when you see, the balancing act that we will have to do. So now we are all tired of the 9 to 6, 9 to 9, whatever that we have been doing. We do think we have the experience and the ability to break away from traditional careers, but there are a lot of things pulling us back. And we have our dream home and travel. So, a lot of this travel, the experiential stuff is picking up a lot these days, which is what is reflected in the survey. That travel is a priority. Even I love to travel and I save towards travel. And if I don't travel, like, in 3-4 months, I start getting very jittery. So I am sure a lot of people are like that. Not living within their means, have big outstanding loans, unable to earn or save as much as they would like, concerned about late start, concerned about how much is enough for retirement. So, lot of dreams, you've taken your loans, but unable to, we're all stuck. It's absolute, the feeling of absolutely being stuck. I can see it here and I can feel it also. We do, if you, when you're in this 30 to 50 age cohort, you do feel it like very, very, very deeply. So what do the people in the middle ages, for the youngsters, it was very easy, to get things right, to just start out. Now, as youngsters, probably we didn't have so much social media exposure or so much exposure to financial education or investor education. So probably we couldn't start early. We started early, but made a lot of mistakes. We didn't choose the right path. We didn't choose the right product. Now we want a home. We've got the home, and then we thought, investing in apartments was the best thing to do. And then we bought one more house. So, all those things add up, isn't it? And finally, you really sit one day and think what you have done with your life. So what is the solution, for the middle people in the middle ages to put yourself back on the path to financial freedom, which is what you will have. It's a very simple exercise here. And if you do see, the debt burden is the biggest burden that most of us seem to have, as per the survey also in this age group. It's because of expansionist lifestyles, easy availability of loans on tap, high cost loans. So most of us do credit card EMIs or personal loans and big ticket loans. Like, as I told you, many people, even in my own family and friend circle, I know that, one house in Bangalore, one house in Chennai, one house in Pune, one house in here and there. So the entire investments is all sitting in houses, whereas they are living in a fourth rented house in some other city. So these kind of big ticket, multiple big ticket loans. So very beautifully, I think our founder, Mr. Sham Shekhar, had put it out in Twitter as a thread on the day we celebrated Financial Freedom Day. That was July 1. You could go and go back and check his handle. I've just captured it here as an image. So if you see here very clearly, it says, two decisions that slow your journey to financial freedom are the home buy. Okay, and of course the jewelry purchases, but let us look at the home buy and continue here. Apartments are actually depreciating assets bought with debt. You just need one to live in. Buying more apartments slows your financial freedom. And then moves on to interest. Paying less interest over the entire life cycle of investing over the entire life cycle of investing towards financial freedom is the key driver of achieving early freedom. And when you pay less interest on your home purchase, you allocate more money and time for compounding. Saving to your full potential and investing sensibly is what you need to achieve. Simple, but not easy. Of course, yeah, I think I said it. So, yeah, like for the youngsters, it's very, very simple. For us also in the 30 to 50 age group, I think it's a very, very simplistic thing. And I do remember that, in one of the, I do Q&A program on Sham's channel. So even in that, the program is called Decode. And even there, I think in one of the recent episodes, we were having a discussion and he did mention this, his route to financial freedom was keeping the interest component very, very, very low across his early life. So, so this is a leaf to take out of his book also probably. So the 30 to 50 age group, we all need to rethink on massively loading on loans just because it is available and, then struggling with it. So that is the takeaway for the one of the takeaways for the 30 to 50 age group from this survey. And, clearing this will probably put you back on path. The other concern for the 30 to 50 age group, along with all these challenges, I also want to retire early, or I don't know how much I need to retire early. So that has been a major challenge for this group. And, recently I do write for Milestones2Wealth. I put out investor specific FAQs now and then. I'm sure you should have read top of mind through our API messaging, or it is available even in our website. So I take up top questions in investor minds on different topics. So I've done one recently, I think last week or the week before, on retirement planning. So very simple exercise. If you are among the people who say that I do want to retire early, but I am not sure how. I don't know how much I need for retirement. So this Q&A would help you. You could go back to your API or website and check, but I've just put the key points here on the side. So if you are somebody seeking financial freedom, you need to do retirement planning, whether it is early or whether it is at 60 or 65, you do need to do retirement planning. And it's not a simple exercise. You do have calculators in our own Milestones to Wealth website. We have retirement calculators across SEBI, NISM, and several other portals. You will find retirement calculators. But what will your post-retirement expenses be? What will the inflation be after retirement? And what is your life expectancy? These are all three variables, and the crux of retirement planning seems to be revolving around these three variables. So when you say post-retirement expenses, today, say, for example, my monthly expense is 50,000 or 75,000 or 1 lakh. Now, post-retirement, is it going to be the same? People, when using calculators, assume, yeah, maybe it is going to be the same. Maybe it is the same, but the composition is not the same. So you're not going to have probably a school-going child when you're 60. So maybe you don't have to pay school fees. But then, yes, maybe you may have some health issues which are not reimbursable through insurance. So maybe that school fees component is going towards your monthly medical bills. It could be that. So there are several assumptions. So you need to actually realistically think about it. If you think you want to keep the same 50 or 1 lakh that you're spending today, thinking that the composition can be different, you could go ahead. But there are people who do think that, today they need a lot of things, but at that time they can do a minimalist lifestyle. It is their call. And so they think the post-retirement expenses per month can be lower. So that is your first call that you have to take. Inflation, essentially for financial planning, we keep it at 6%. So any calculator that you use, you could keep it at 6%. And life expectancy is something which is totally not in our hands, unless you are very interested in astrology and horoscope and you do want to check. But even then we don't know, because astrology is also only a 50-50 scenario. So what I had written here was that I said, if you're not too sure and you think, the variables can take you. For example, if you put variables in one direction, it may tell you may need, say, 20 crores. But in another direction, in another extreme, if you put the variables, it may keep your retirement savings probably at 5 crores. And this is a very wide thing. 5 crore and 20 crore, what you should do, how you should save is a completely different exercise, depending on which phase in life you are in. So what I thought, probably you should do is you should assume that, you will retire at 60, assume that you will live to 100, which is your life expectancy is taken care of. And then you assume that 6% inflation and assume the same post-retirement expenses as today. So, if you keep it at an extreme of, retiring at 60, no retirement benefits, only your investing is going to help you, and assume that you're going to live to 100, and then you calculate a number and work towards it, you always have a buffer. So that creating that buffer is important. Tomorrow, that buffer will come in handy for a lot of things. For example, when you have some medical things, when your insurance doesn't, you may have a 50 lakh, 1 crore insurance, but still there are things which are not covered with insurance and which have to come out of pocket for anybody. So maybe that buffer which you create, assuming a life expectancy at 100 and all that. So what I had probably, it was a thought, it was a thought that occurred to me. So maybe if you have the room to do it, you should think that way. And also important is all of us do SIPs or mutual funds or PMS or whatever we want to pre-retirement, but post-retirement, everyone starts becoming extremely conservative and think that they should use only, fixed income probably. So post-retirement, also a lot more, if you say, assuming you retire at 60 and you want to live on passive income up to 100, there is no way that, you would actually have only one FD and then or annuity of an insurer and then live with it. So that is not a very good exercise to do. So we always suggest post-retirement also you should do equities, and you follow a bucket strategy to do that. So what is this bucket strategy? Any time after retirement, at any point in time after retirement, whatever you want for the first 3 years, you always keep it in debt. It can be fixed income if you're comfortable with fixed income. It can be, a debt fund from which you can do SWPs. It is your choice. But first 3 years, always keep it in debt. The next 2 years or even 3 years, if you are a little more conservative, can always be in hybrid products, hybrid funds. And, anything what you want after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years can always be in equities. So as each bucket, for example, 1 year into your 3-year debt bucket, you will move little from the hybrid to debt. And then you will move little bit from equity to hybrid. So like that, you keep moving from bucket to bucket to bucket, and you keep retaining this equity till the end. So that equity, anything that you need after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, according to your risk profile, will always be an equity, which will be earning a return for you. And then whatever you need in the near term will be moving from equity into hybrid and hybrid into debt. Now, I'm telling it very simply, but you do have retirement planners, financial planners who are available for you to access and take this help. But since the concern does seem to be in the survey, the concern seemed to be a lot around, I don't know how much I need for retirement. I want to retire early. So I just thought I will put this thought out in this webinar. So then for those two cohorts, I did tell you, what were the issues and what will put you on the path to financial freedom. Now coming to the women cohort. So I always want, since I am also a woman, so I always want to have the women perspective in whatever I do, because I think it matters a lot. And how we think is essentially extremely different from how men tend to think. So if you see, a higher percentage of women among those surveyed, a higher percentage of women want to be debt free and retire early vis-a-vis men. A higher percentage of women want to travel, 49 versus 27.4% for women. And as if you remember, I did say a lot more women wanted over 50 crores as their financial freedom target. So, women, you do see this pattern, which is very, very different from men. But now we have all this, but what is it that is preventing women from, achieving all this? Typically lower risk appetite. That is what I could see. And it's a lower percentage of women invest in stocks and mutual funds vis-a-vis men, as per this survey. A higher percentage invest in FDs and post office and insurance products vis-a-vis men. They fear medical emergencies. And I think typical women mentality, which I have also seen, we tend to fear a lot for all the, it may not even happen, but we keep having that fear in our mind. So that fear is a lot more. 37% don't have knowledge of financial products, vis-a-vis only 27% of for men. And 57 don't have time to plan or review their investments, vis-a-vis only 40% for men. I do understand where they come from. This 37% don't have knowledge of financial products, vis-a-vis 27% for women, especially now. It is like mostly, women tend to think it's a men area. So, let them decide. I don't want to, if let them say something. Oh, if it's an advisor that you have for you and the advisor is guiding you, fine. But even at that point, if you are aware now, there are a lot of resources available and very, very handy resources. So if you are at the same time, whatever the advisors tell you, you can go and always check and, build your knowledge. So I think the thing is, it's mostly women tend to think it's a man thing to do. So, it's not like almost like driving a car or a bus. So, or a geared heavy CC bike. So I think that is a mindset of women. And 57% don't have time to plan. I can totally understand, because we women are always completely multitasking. And this is the last thing we want to do, because every day there are so many priorities that we have to handle, right from the child to the house and so on and so forth. So I do understand when women say that 57% don't have the time to plan. So now women they're very ambitious, and they want to be debt free, because then you have to be all the more right with your investments. Do let the compounding do your work. So but if you don't have knowledge of products, or if you don't have the time, then that's going to be a limiting factor for women to achieve financial freedom. So, the women need to think about it. So, we tend to, as I said earlier, we tend to have low risk appetites. We tend to take career breaks, which is why I think, the fear on emergencies and medical emergencies and not being able to meet goals comes from the fact that at any point in time, we tend to take a career break, not for us. Essentially, it will be for caring for parents or caring for in-laws or caring for children. Children are in 10th, children are in 12th. I mean, so many issues come up for women, and very specific to women. So even I have taken a break for a year. I was trying to do freelancing before. I was a journalist for 15 years, and I took a break for a year because I had a small child. And then I came back and I'm here with iThought for a few months now. So I do understand, women, why the fear comes. And it always also comes from putting others first. We're always thinking of child. When you want to invest, you think of investing for your child first rather than for yourself first. Nobody will, it's very difficult for anyone else to think like that. Only it's a very women specific thing. We are very sacrificing and we always think of others first. But the problem for women is also that there are a lot of statistics. I don't want to go into who, what, when. There is a study by International Labour Organization. Even the Azim Premji University has put out a study some time back. You even have these labor-related studies from the government of India. So all this show that may not be in your industry, but essentially statistics do show that lower pay for lower same work. In a lot of industries, it may not be relevant for you, but some of you may be facing these issues. And also the problem for women comes because demographics show longer lifespan. So, women are ambitious, as we had seen in the other slide, but they have certain issues to deal with. So unless all these things are, sorted out, when you have a longer lifespan, for example, if the man of the family is not available to, help you out, then with money or with guidance or whatever, then it becomes a problem, which is why all the more women should set right all these things which are inhibiting them and then, go on their path to financial freedom. So these three cohorts, I took it out specifically to say what action is needed to achieve financial freedom: the 20 to 30 cohort, 30 to 50, and the women cohort. So the achievement of financial freedom, we are here for you at Milestones2Wealth. Because essentially what we do here is essentially make you relate to real financial life situations, make you think in numbers, and make you we think in terms of investor behavior. That's extremely important. So behavior, thinking in numbers, and relating to real life financial situations rather than showing a product brochure and pitching for the product. This is what we try to do at Milestones2Wealth. It is never product pitching. It is always based on behavior, making you think in numbers and making you relate to life situations. So, we are here always for you. And we always get this question. You did see in the survey that I'd never had a 1 crore number. I always had this 1 crore, 1 to 5 crore, 5 to 10 crore, and so on in that survey, if you noticed. Now, but at Milestones2Wealth, we do keep getting asked this question: is 1 crore enough? Why are you saying, you're trying to help 1 lakh investors build 1 crore? What is the, worth of 1 crore even today for anybody to even have it or as an aim for 20 years later and so on? But 1 crore is not the ultimate. We do consider 1 crore, saving towards 1 crore as the first step to financial freedom. Now, why is 1 crore the first step to financial freedom? As I said earlier, 1 crore is not a number. It is the outcome of behavior. Numbers are easy to chase, but behaviors are hard to build. This is what we try to do at Milestones2Wealth. If you have invested with us, then you would see that, we try to build your behavior rather than pitching for products and trying to, say that, trying to sell a product without knowing what is suitable for you or without knowing your temperament. So 1 crore, behind every 1 crore is a set of choices, habits, and mindsets. So it gives you clarity, it gives you confidence, and it gives you clear milestones to reach. So with the milestones is what we have given you do know our milestones if you have been investing with us, or if you have been watching with us. It is like 2, 5, 10, 25. We take you towards each step. We handhold you and guide you. So in the whole process of moving from, your 2 lakh milestone to your 1 crore milestone, now this is what, again, a founder, Mr. Sham Shekhar, had put out, in again, one of the videos that I have done with him on our Decode program in his YouTube channel. So he says that, when you reach 2 lakh milestone, you learn to sit through volatility. When you reach a 5 lakh milestone, you discover your true savings potential. When you reach a 10 lakh milestone, you complete a savings masterclass. When you reach a 25 lakh milestone, you develop the confidence to hold through every dip. When you reach a 50 lakh milestone, you understand how returns can do the heavy lifting. And when you reach a 1 crore milestone, this base camp sets you up and makes you ready for the summit. 1 crore isn't earned, it is built. So when you do this 1 crore, this way that we guide you to do or help you to do or help you achieve. You build your behavior step by step, and then it is just after 1 crore, it is just replicating that behavior to make that 1 crore 10 crore, grow it 10x, or grow the 10 crore 10x to 100 crores. So once you set your behavior right, by when you reach each of these milestones, then everything is set for you to reach whatever financial freedom number that you are aspiring for. So build better behavior, better decisions, which will automatically lead you to building better wealth. So build behavior, build financial freedom is what the message for today, the message that I wanted to send across for today. I hope this presentation was useful for all of you. Thank you very much for attending the event.